Do you struggle making cards for your friends that are true crime fans like I do? Well, I'm going to solve that problem for you today. We're going to make a clean and simple card using products from Missing Stamps that is perfect for true crime fans. And it so happens the name of the stamp set it's called True Crime. So that's what we're going to be using today. I've got two simple pieces of Nina White 80-pound cardstock and a white top-folded A2 card base. We're going to do a little simple stamping and simple coloring to create a fun true crime themed card that's perfect for our friends that love true crime like me. So we're going to start off with our crime scene tape, and I thought about doing it from the long side, but I decided I wanted to do more, just to do it across the top and make it easy on myself, just like you should always make things easier on yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and put the second crime tape right next to the one that I just put on my Misty door. And I'm going to ink that up with Tuxedo Black because I am going to end up coloring this with some alcohol markers. So I've got those stamped down. Now I'm going to go ahead and add two more because this is going to be a decorative piece across the top. So we're going to stamp that down again. And that way everything's done. So I can go ahead and move that out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and put my next piece of Nina Classic Crest Solar White 80-pound cardstock into my Misty. And we're going to stamp our little outline of our person. I don't know, our crime scene person. I'm also going to go ahead and stamp the sentiment now as well, because that way I can build the rest of the scene around it. And this is the easiest way for you to do that also, is you can get that sentiment in there and get your composition and focal point all set up. So now we're going to add our little elements around that. I'm adding the handcuffs. I'm adding the crime scene markers for our little true crime scene. So I'm going to go ahead and ink those up and stamp all those down at one time. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my murder weapon, or our, I don't know what I should call that. We might have to bleep that out. Or we're going to go ahead and add those other ones as well that's in the stamp set. And we're going to add those around the crime scene markers because they were found at the crime scene. So we've got our crime scene markers and we've got our assault paraphernalia down there. So we're going to go ahead and finish that one up. And if you noticed, I stamped that smallest one 3 times and I didn't clean the ink stamp off to in between. So do that at your own risk. I was confident that I wasn't going to get ink everywhere, but if I did, it would be okay. I get on paper, I can start over. Now I'm going to go ahead and stamp out some footprints for my crime scene. And I'm doing those in a red ink, and I'm sure you can figure out why I'm doing it that way. So we're going to go ahead and add a couple more. We're going to make this look like somebody walked through that liquid to create a trail for our investigators. So we're going to go ahead and stamp a couple more of those down, and make sure that you have your footprints going in the right direction, because there is a left and a right foot in this stamp set. And I almost did it wrong, and I'm sure you will too. If you're just thinking, oh, it's just a shoe print, we'll be okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and I've moved this cardstock up a little so that we can go ahead and add some splatter to our card, because what's a crime scene without splatter? So we're going to go ahead and place all our little tiny little splatter drop stamps images around in different sizes. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp that down in that same red ink, because everything ties together. We're doing a simple color palette here, and it makes it super easy. And I would encourage you to also, when you're doing a clean and simple card, to just do that simple color palette. It makes it so much easier. All right, so now we're going to move on to the coloring process, and we're going to do this pretty simply. I've started out with my Ohuhu brush markers, and I'm going to start with Y29, Y28, Y27, and Y26 for my yellow combination, and I use those same colors for everything that I'm going to color yellow, and I would encourage you to do that as well. It makes the process, by limiting your color palette, again, so much easier. So we're just going to add in our darkest color, and that's the Y29. I'm going to go ahead and do a couple of those crime scene tapes at a time. I'll blend that out with my next darkest tone, which is the Y28. And then we'll blend that out with our mid-tone, which is our Y27. And we will blend that out with our highlight with our Y26. And I'll do the last crime scene tape in the same color combo. We're also going to do the crime scene markers in this color combo as well. Again, we're limiting our color palette to make our card making process easier. All right, so I've got that all colored up. Now we're going to work on our markers. And I don't know if that's their real name or not. I know someone that does crime scene photography, so maybe I should ask her if that's what they're called. I believe it is. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and color those up in that same color combinations, keeping that color palette limited to make it easier on ourselves, because who wants to spend time pulling out all kinds of stuff just to create one card? Nobody. And especially on a true crime card, let's make it easy, people. Come on. We got this. We can do it. We can make our friends some cards like for our true crime friends. So we're going to go ahead and finish coloring up our little markers. I'll change over to a gray combination. And this time I'm using BGY02 and BGY00. And I'm going to use that on the knife and the handcuffs, just to have a different gray combination. I'm going to actually do several different gray combos. I'm also using it on the bullets that we stamped out as our other murder weapon paraphernalia. And now we're going to switch over to a more of a yellow gray combination. And I used YG 13, YG11, and YG02 for the outline image, that because I wanted it to look like it was on the ground or pavement. So that's why I chose that color combination. But I didn't want to just leave it the white of the card. I wanted it to have some kind of body. And that's one of the big things about making clean and simple cards. As long as you're intentional with what you're doing, everything's fine. I'm going to add a little bit more shading there. I came back in with one of the darker colors and added just some simple shadings right in the middle where I had decided it needed a little bit. All right, so I'm going to finish that up, and then I'm going to move over and work on the handle of our knife. And for that, I'm using E311 and E313 to just give it a nice little brown color. And as I'm looking at my markers, I put them back in the wrong spot, so we need to move those around. So we're going to add a drop shadow now with a with CG01 and CG02, just to add drop shadows behind the things that would be lifted up, like your handcuffs, your knives, the markers, the bullets. Those all things would have a shadow underneath because of the light source. So we're going to add it in on our clean and simple card today as well. So we're just going to blend. We started out with our CG02, and we're going to blend it out with our CG01. Words are hard. So we'll go ahead and do that and do our other little drop shadows right there. And then we're going to add just a little drop shadow. Why I did this, I don't know why I added a shadow under our little outline, because he should be flat. So anyway, now we're going to cut this down. I'm going to cut it down to 4 inches by 4 1/4. And then I've got my other piece of our card, which was 4 1/4 by 11, that has our crime scene tape on the top. I'm going to take and attach this bottom part to our top layer, or our top layer to our bottom part, just with some liquid glue, so that everything is all in one layer, pretty much, kind of, sort of. Anyway, we're just going to add that right there. I like to work on panels and then add them to a card front because it makes it a lot easier. So I've decided then that I wanted to add a little bit more color. So I had some Vintage Photo Distress Oxide ink. So I added that across our crime scene tape top and just added some from the 2 sides. And then I've attached that together again. Well, actually I didn't take it apart. I was measuring the card to make sure everything was lined up right. So we're going to add some liquid glue behind our card front, and I'm going to attach this to my top folding A2 card base. And this card is coming together pretty quick for a crime scene, true crime card that is pretty hard to make. But the stamp set is super popular because it sold out when it was released, and it's just came back in stock recently. Now I'm going to add some white highlights to our stamped images. So I'm going to go through and add the little highlights to where I think they need to go. Some on the markers, some on the handcuffs. I'm going to change those up. I went and pulled my silver gel pen because I decided the little screws on the knife needed the little silver. And then I decided that the handcuffs and the blades off needed the silver highlights instead of the white. So I'm going to do those. And then that, my friends, finishes up our card, really. So I'm going to lift the card up to the camera for you and let you get a close look. If you need any of the supplies, they're all linked and listed in the video description below. I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys. Stay crafty. Love you.